Welcome to API Days. My name is Senthil. So I'll be walking through on the topic navigating the generative AI landscape. So how you build your data strategy. So before we get into that, a small intro about myself. So I have over 18 years of experience in digital transformation leader and have been working with various industries in the organization. I have worked with domains like banking, product, telecommunications, and NGOs, and so on. Yeah. Let's look into the agenda for today. So, I'll be walking through on the evolutions of Gen AI architecture and followed by core components of what are the Gen AI architectures they're evolving in this world and what is the roadmap that we need to set for an organization in terms for your strategy and how your governance framework is important and also slightly walking through on your revolutions, how you can unlock your strategic values. And the age of Gen AI upon us, I wanted to show what are the domains that are adapting this technology and how they're performing. Yeah. Before let's get into so today like evolution of data architectures in the AI era. So if you look at this Gen AI architecture, for me, what is Gen AI architecture? Well, it's a modern branch of an artificial intelligence is called a Gen AI. So basically how it leverages on your deep learning, your machine learning, or your complex techniques that can create contents such as your audios, videos, images, even your designs. It can be done. But basically how it does by mimicking certain patterns from getting the data from various data sets, and it makes a generative AI as a highly adaptable technology. So in order to make that as a high adaptable, the components are would involve, for instance, data. So data is like your journey begins with your data because that's your foundation. That is where you do your data preparation and you keep your model ready. So how you want it to process, whether it's your raw data or your clean data or it's a normalized data or as a transform data. So this is a foundation that you need to put into the model, and this layer should ensure that you have a high quality of data because whatever you're going to train the model, you're going to get the output on the same. So that is where your model's ability to produce the good result is totally dependent on your data that you feed in. If you put the right set of data, you're going to get the right set of information on it. And once your data is ready, that's where your model is ready. So this model layer is nothing but where you have an advanced algorithms where you can hide certain patterns in the data and that you can bring it in. So the tools or the technologies that involves in this, like for example, generative adversarial networks, which is your GAN, or your variation auto encoders, which is your VAs. So that can power this layer, which can enable and it can give you the diverse output for your model. And once this model is ready, that's where you have your continuous feedback and improvement that is necessary when you're dealing with the AI. So, because you need to handle with your human as well as your automated matrices, because you need to train the model and ensure that it gives you the right accuracy, and also it gives the creativity of the information that is required. So always the changes, your testing, your process, everything involves in this continuous improvement and in this feedback is very important. And once this is done, that is where you move on with your application. So your application is good to go. That is where you wanted to integrate all your models that has been built, so that whether the user interface, how this is being working and how this can work, and you can check, for example, it's a chatbot or anything that is required for your organization. So this plays a role of all the top layers of your application or your data or your model or your feedback. Now let's look into the layers that supports this core components. Your data platform. Your data platform is very important because your data quality should be good. More than 80% of your data depends on your data quality that you feed in into your system, whether you're going to prepare on your data preparations, or it's a vectorization data, or you wanted to have a data storage, or you wanted to keep a proper data that is used for your data platform management, because that will derive and it can give you the high quality of output that is required for an organization or the model that you're building, that can support different streams. Like it can be your downstream application, it can be your upstream application, or it can be your domain specific. So once your data layer is ready, you're set, that is in where you go for your orchestration layer. So I would say like your prompt engineering or LLM ops, that can be layered with this, where it can oversee the deployment, the management, which includes your large language models, LLM ops, and also the operations that can enable all our engineering team, and how you can fine tune and how you wanted to schedule and how you wanted to keep the workflow. So this is where you ensure that the specific use case requirement is in place. So well, as once this orchestration is ready, so that's where you come into the model layer. So this model layer is nothing but a centralized layer. So once you have the centralized unified information ready, so that is where it plays a centralized information that can be transformed with different entities, different business units, different domains, that can be used as this data as a centralized platform, and it can be reused, or it can be used for your high scalable, and it can be used for your reusability, and this can be used for your AI applications. So next comes your infrastructure layer. So infrastructure layer is nothing but it's talks about like how you want to support this layer altogether, whether you wanted to have some kind of advanced hardwares that can support this whole model, because to support your model it requires your high GPUs or TPUs, because that can power and that can train your deployments of your large models, because your cloud infrastructure also plays a critical role in supporting this computational model. So in your infrastructure should be highly scalable in order for you to support this kinds of model. So once you have all this in place, your data, your orchestration, your model, your infrastructure, so finally you come with your application, that is where you wanted to deploy into the real world applications. So where the users can enable in terms of like capabilities like writing functionality, designing, and other tools that can be like a chat for your chatbot for your organization. So this is where it comes into picture. Well, like any other technology, whether it's a data or an application or as a product or anything in the world, you have implementing challenges in the world. So I have kept the three concerns or three implementing challenges. The first is like your security concern. Your first is like, if the data your model gets misuse, or it gets like a data is stolen or a model is hijacked, then your data is going to be theft, and your data is going to be across all over the globe, and it's going to be in the black market. So you need to safeguard your model, and you need to ensure that the security is in place, that it doesn't get misused, and you need to ensure that the data is not biased by giving you the incorrect information when you train the model. For example, there was an instance like when the resume was being shortlisted, the resume was shortlisting only the male resume instead of female resume, because the model was trained in that way. So you need to ensure it doesn't give you those kinds of measures, and also you need to ensure that the model is not getting attacked by the third party or by the black market. So this is very important in terms of when you try to implement a AI model. Next is your privacy. Your privacy is all about your compliance, whether what kind of compliance that you need to adhere in the globe, whether it's PDPA for Singapore, GDPR, CCPA, and so on, so that you ensure that it is compliant. And also you need to ensure that you need to have anonymizations techniques, or how you wanted to keep your data to be protected. For example, you want to do some kind of encryption that needs to be there, or controls that can prevent from the people from unauthorized access and breaches. So privacy plays an important role in terms of your implement challenges. And finally is your computational, because when you build a model, when we talk about AI or a Gen AI, this requires a high power, and it requires a hardware that can support this kind of computation. So that's where your GPUs or TPUs or comes into picture. It should be highly scalable resource, so that it can support your infrastructure, and it can build your model securely. Yeah. Moving on. So the core components of GenAI architecture. So I would not go in detail of each and everything, but for instance, when a business user is looking, so they look for your code assistance, which is easy for them. So today in the globe, so we have voice and video chats, which can enable natural, right? It can have interactive communications. You go to any banking, or you go to any car booking, so you have that kind of functionality, so that you can interact and you can book. And also for such capability, you want to look in for chat GPT, you can go and you can type in any information that you want to get in. So that is where you get the information. So it has got the AI search capabilities that can give you the information. And next is your operational uses. So when it comes, so autonomous agents. So today you go to any uh, place, it's easy. You get the automated agents talk to you, but it's a chatbots. Most of the time, they're talking to the first level. If they don't understand, that's where they transfer to the human. So this plays an important first role, where they can resolve at the first place itself, rather than the moving to the customer or a human. So this place is where they can handle the task independently, and they can uh, solve the issue of any users or customers. So next is the AI COE users. Like this is where your semantic memory, whether it's a short-term caching or a long-term caching, is used for what, and what kind of capabilities. Whether you wanted to access the data faster, or you wanted to access the data for a longer time, for to do some kind of retrieval or some kind of analytics or insights. So this is where your AI COE team comes into picture, and they can take this data they wanted to build with a small set of data that is required, a near real time or a real time data that is required, and how they wanted to have the historical data to do some kind of analysis for their churn predictions, or for A and B, those kind of things. They play an important role on this. And next is your guardrail. So as any other, you need to guardrail your information. That is very important. So whether it's a tokenization, or you wanted to have some kind of security, this kind of information needs to be secured, of your information, who can access, what can be accessed, and how this can be accessed. So all kinds of controls should be in place. And next is your like LLMs. Of course, like without LLMs, it's very hard. So this is where your centralized collection comes into effective. So that is where you give for your prompt for your reuse capability and references, so that this would be the centralized platform can be used, shared by different entities and different place, where they can use and they can make the model. Well, finally, the data scientist. Without the data scientist, you cannot have the model built, or you can think beyond what they do. For example, deployment, development, pipeline tunings, operationals, training. model experiments. So this is where their expertise comes into picture, and they do all kind of information that they want to do the experiment of the model that can improve the performance over the time. Yeah. Moving on, so building a roadmap for your AI strategy. So when I talk about AI strategy, the first is like your Gen AI strategy. Well, what is Gen AI strategy is all about for the business is aligning with the business strategy. So that is where your current and your target architecture comes into picture, and where you define your vision for your organization and how you wanted to drive that whole mission, and what are the values that you're going to get it, and what are the KPIs for you to reach that vision. You define it there, you define your team, you define your budget, you define your guiding principles. So this is the part, the overall strategy of an Gen AI that becomes a head or a top. So for this to support, you need to have a business alignment. When we talk about business alignment, is all about your people, your processes, your solutions, your initiatives that can support your business strategy. Because business alignment is nothing but collaboration between technical business and stakeholders, because that can improve the decision making, and that can tell how we wanted to proceed further. So that's an alignment with the business. We are doing this kind of initiatives. So with that alignment, so we need to have a portfolio team. So that is where our portfolio teams becomes a responsible, where they can manage and they can assign the initiatives very effectively. So they have the initiatives like your projects or your solutions, or because they need to align with the business goals in terms of the strategy alignment, investment, return of investment that the business is looking it for, and also the technology people, the quality people, the trained people who can deliver the AI initiatives. So this is one of the important portfolio team that plays a role in building this strategy. And next, of course, your data strategy. Without the data, you cannot drive, you cannot do the model, because that's a base that you need to feed in into the model. So that is where your data management, your infrastructure for the data to support your data driven analytics, or whether it's advanced analytics or it's a tools. So that comes into picture in supporting this overall the model of this. Well, when we have this without a people, without a leadership support, it's highly impossible for you to proceed. So that is where you have to have the people strategy in place, where you need to tell them what is a case study, what is the return of investment that we are looking, and what are the skilled people that will be working on this, and what is the learning that we will be doing, what are the releases, what is the outcome of this, what is the benefit of this. So this is where our people strategy alignments will be comes into picture, especially uh, engaging with the senior leadership team. And next is your technology strategy. Technology strategy is all about like your what you wanted to drive, because whether it's a machine learning or a deep learning, or is it a data center, or you wanted to build some kind of Gen AI chatbots or NLP and so on, because it needs to support your scalability, as I said previously, and high performance computing is required. Again, like GPUs or TPUs to support this kind of initiative. So this plays a very crucial to support. And next is your architecture. Well, architecture, without the architecture blueprint, without the guidelines and solutions and the tools recommendations, it's highly impossible for you to have an overall strategy for this. So each of these components are complementing each other to build a strategy that can proceed for your overall strategy. If you look at the bottom, the base is your governance. So without your governance, it's highly impossible for you to govern this whole portion, because of the security concerns which I spoke earlier. So you need to ensure that everything is secured, everything, whatever the model that is built, whatever the people that you're dealing, you need to ensure what kind of controls we have, what kind of security is in place. Yeah. Well, moving on. Well, once you have that strategy in place, so that is where you build your roadmap for your AI strategy. So that is becomes a technology roadmap, I would say, because your AI strategies all leverages on your blueprint innovations, where you ensure that you're responsible for your AI practices and you capture that values for the business. And once you have that kind of business, that is where you have to have you build your data analytics strategy. So that's your building. So your data strategy is like having a key pillars, for example, where we need to have a good infrastructure, data management, strong data governance, and compliance, analytics, advanced analytics. So this is a factors that can help you to support with the tools and cases, and selecting the right set of technology that is to support this kind of data strategy is like your key focuses, and learning like your AI chatbots, NLP, prompt engineering, and advanced tools like your artificial intelligence. So this is where you have your technology that you choose to support your organization. And of course, without the business case, it's highly impossible for you to have this uh, proceed the strategy or building the model. So you need to align with your businesses. For example, whether it's a consumer business or enterprise business, you need to prioritize what kind of initiative will make an impact, whether it's a small or it's big. So which one need to be prioritized. So this is where you align, and this is where you get your business alignment with that. And importantly, your stakeholder management, you need to have a weekly meeting or monthly meeting to tell them that you are proceeding with this and what is you're going to achieve and how this can be achieved. So this is where you need to tell them, and we need to come with a agreement that this initiative is being done, and this is how we are proceeding, and this is the use cases that we will be delivering. And finally, how you need to prioritize, how you need to plan, and how you need to implement your projects. And you need to build a clear business roadmap. It should establish your governance, and also you should have some kind of dashboards for tracking and applying some kind of like agile methodologies or design thinking, or you can think of some traditional methods also. But the overall, it needs to be a continuous improvements, and also you need to ensure what are the lessons learned. That's very important when you do initiatives like this. So what are the things and what are the gaps that you find, what are the lessons learned, so that you can share and you can improvise with your team, whether it's a technical or a non-technical, whether it's a business use case or is it something on the infra. So everything comes into picture and everyone needs to collaborate in this, and you have to move on. Yeah. So the next is I'm going to talk on the governance framework. Well, governance framework is very important for you to support on the AM, because like it deals with the data, because you're moving the data from your source to your target or from to different domains. So that is where your data classification or data cataloging comes into picture. So without having your data defined, what kind of critical data element you have, what are the attributes that are like your PII or a non PII, how critical that PI is information, whether it's encrypted or is it masked, how this the data is being shared with the different entities or the different domains. So that is where you talk about your lineage of data between a different domains. For example, your consumer data can be used for your business domain or corporate functions or for an enterprise function. So your data flows into a different domains. So you need to ensure, you need to track how this data being shared and how they are storing and what is the retention of the data primarily from the source, because your source information have the guidelines that needs to be adhere with your governance framework. So that is where your operational, your transparency, your accountability comes into picture. And how you wanted to protect your data, whether you wanted to have some kinds of controls or some kinds of encryption or a masking or a tokenization. So these are the factors that can be applied into your sensitive information of your data, because your data security is very important in terms of your governance and how you access, how you operationalize, and who are the data owners and how you get the approval. So this is a workflow that you can come up and you can build, so that you can make a operational for your organization. And especially with the AI, so you need to ensure that it's fair, it's ethical, and also it is transparent and human. We are accountable for this, and also we need to ensure that the we need to have all kind of like compliance in place, and also the alignment of this overall governance framework. Because when we talk about AI or a Gen AI, it's always how we secure and what are the goals that we are driving, and how we need to have the risk factor mitigated or in place, or what are the risk tolerance that we need to ensure. So everything comes into picture, and of course your policies and procedures from your governance team, which is your DGO team. Yeah, moving on. So, well, navigating the AI revolution. So, how your business strategy and digital transformation can be done. So, well, as I said in the previous slides, where Gen AI is nothing but it's a strategic asset for your organization. So, it gives you value. Any model that we build, it should give you some kinds of value in terms of your security, or how you wanted to drive that implementation, what are the practical use cases that we are looking into it, and how, what is the unified approach. So if you look all those aspects of it, is you need to have a value that can give you. For instance, first thing is your security. The next is your cost you're looking at, your process, your discovery, your insights, your innovations, your growth. These are the factors that gives you the value when you drive a project or model, whether it's a Gen AI or a AI or any other emerging technology that you look into it. These are the things that the C-suite will be looking into it. They wanted to ensure there is a security. They wanted to ensure there's a cost reduction. They wanted to ensure there's a proper process, and that is very effective. And what is the growth of that particular product that is being implemented in my organization, how that is being changed for an organization, what are the insights that is in the model. Yeah, moving on. Well, now we talk about like unlocking a strategic value. So this is where I come up with the 7 keys for an organization, for especially for your C-suite, how you wanted to align with this. So the very first thing in the C-suite is like we need to establish a clear vision, where you need to articulate with the strategic goals, identify the key use cases that can benefit the outcomes, and very importantly, you need to secure, or you need to buy in from your peers. That's very important. And you need to appoint a senior leader who can be a champion or of this initiative like Gen AI. And I would always tell, start with quick wins. And that's important to deliver the measure the values, because when you deliver quick wins, then understand what you're trying to implement, what you're trying to showcase, so it builds a trust for them. And then you can focus on the use cases directly, address their business needs, align with their measurable your goals, and you can deliver the results. And importantly, you are building a trust, and also the focus on your customer services, and also it improves your productivity as well, because when you show with something small, that is where its importance. And also, like when it comes to your core areas of the business, we need to ensure what are the businesses that is been looking like, whether it is your consumer, whether it's your enterprise, or whether it's a corporate function, or it's some other functions or domains or business units. So you need to ensure which are the core areas that can be improvised. So you need to set which one need to prioritize, and based on that you need to work on the use case that is being given by the business. And once that is done, that is where you focus on your quick wins and what are your top priorities. I would say always quick win is important, but at the same time long term success is very important. You need to have a long term strategy for your long term success. So once you build this for your business unit, and you also need to look into the long term, because that is where it brings you more value in terms of your operational, in terms of your cost, everything comes into picture. Short is always to gain the business trust, and that is what I say. And also like you need to have AI talent. You need to invest some kind of AI talent. You need to train them. You need to tell what kind of tools, what kind of technologies, what kind of skill sets is required for organization, what kind of infra. So this is where you keep a set of pool of people that can work on this, and they can help you in your building your AI talents. Yeah. And finally, of course, like as I say, like security is one of the key factor for any of your talents. So you need to ensure that you have AI powered security in place, compliance, all the kinds of GDPR, so that and also I would recommend like having a tools like every organization, so that it can detect your threats, and it can analyze vulnerabilities, and automated response it can schedule when you have other responses like that, so that you get to know what is happening in your system. Yeah. So quickly moving on. So the age of Gen AI upon us. So these are like a few of the industries they have automated. For example, you have automated code generation today, like most of your technical. So you get your codes like very easily for you to do some kind of automation where you need to do some kind of small tweaks into the code, and you're good to go. And for example, you go to chat gpt or any other application, you can just go and you can check and you get the codes, and you can you reuse. And next you see like life science, like drug discovery. You yeah, there are technologies in place. It can detect early cancers and other diseases that can be for humans. So they have that in place. And also like threat detection, just now as I said in my previous slide, so where you can keep, and it can track you if there is any anomalies or like any kind of detection in this. So we have that. And telecommunication, of course, like they have big, and they can detect like your network in terms of like if there is any slow or high, or how that can be. And they have the schedule, so they have in place. And of course like customer automated service agents, they are in all the places like banking, as I said, and car, like food or anything. And entertainment world, of course, you there are many they can do many things with the AI now. And you can, for example, music they can make it, and voice they can make it, human they can replica, they can make it, they can bring back to the early ages people also with this Gen AI concepts. Yeah. So yeah. And of course like content analysis and also the copywriting as well is very important in this. Like you need to ensure that we, because of the data that is being evolved across everything, you need to ensure that you don't copy copywriting, or like you don't copy any others information comes into pictures. And of course like we have in manufacturing industry. Yeah. So this is what I wanted to talk to you guys today, and with this I end my uh, uh, so this is my LinkedIn profile. So you please feel free to connect with me, and I'll be more than happy to share more insights on this. Yeah. Thank you.